Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by RockAuto.com. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
And thank you, Alec Webb, and welcome everyone to MotorWeek podcast number 149. And in MotorWeek Central today, around our oddly shaped table, we have writer-producer Brian Robinson.
Morning, John.
Our road test producer, Ben Davis.
Thank you. 149. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Assistant producer, Greg Carlos.
Hey, now.
And our online content coordinator and producer of these podcasts, Patrick Lucas.
Hello, John.
OCC.
OCC. Well,
know me.
Yeah, here we go. Lots to talk about today. We've got cars. We've got our lightning round. We've even got a viewer question. Rant and Rave, see if somebody's got something that's they're just dying to get off their hairy chest. MidSize SUV challenge with our friends up at Cars.com. Brian Robinson, you were the point person on that. How did it go? What did we learn from it? Anything new? Take it away.
Typical, this was strictly 5-passenger SUVs.
So this is 2-row, not 3-row.
Correct, and it was pretty stringent price cap. So things like 4Runner and more off-road focused weren't really here. It was mainly just crossovers. So that meant the Ford Edge, Nissan Murano, Hyundai Santa Fe Sport, Kia Sorento, and Jeep Grand Cherokee did make it.
It did. So what was the price cap?
So
do you remember
I
offhand?
believe it was $37,000.
That's right around what they call the average transaction price for all vehicles.
That's kind of how they come up with those.
Yeah.
But like 4Runner, there's most people they're closer to 40 for those. So it would have been like an ultra base to get in there. But so it's a little bit of a surprise to me. The winner was the Nissan Murano.
It's not. I mean, I like the Murano. I think we all like it, but it's not exactly the biggest.
It's not your typical
else.
family SUV, but maybe that helped it win. I think everyone was just blown away by the comfort of being inside of it, driving it all day. It's just like super comfortable. Interior is bright and airy. Nice place to spend some time, and it drives nice. So.
But what about utility? I mean, it's not the biggest by any stretch.
It's not the biggest, but the space that's there is very useful. Some of them might have bigger numbers, but maybe awkwardly shaped. You're not able to use all that space
because it's so slanted.
But the Edge came in second, did pretty well. There was pretty close between those two. Edge has some really good. The Sync 3 system is really nice. Interior is really nice. A lot of room in that one. Fourth and fifth were the Sorento and Santa Fe Sport, mainly just ride quality. They both have not as good ride quality, also noisy powertrain, engine noise and stuff like that.
They have the turbo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Santa Fe Sport is on a smaller wheelbase than the Sorento, so the ride was a little choppier on that one. And coming in last, unfortunately, is the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Again, very nice vehicle. It can out-tow and off-road any of those, but neither one of those were part of the judging criteria. So
I guess it's a little bit of a surprise that the Sorento didn't do better. But I have to agree. The 2-liter turbo we had, the powertrain, even though it was quite adequate, was a little noisy. And as you remember it, the exhaust was so hot it melted my car carrier.
It was noisy. This
luggage carrier on the back.
I almost think something was wrong with the one we had because I don't remember it riding as rough. I don't know if it had super big wheels on it or what, but it was just a really rough ride to it. And
I thought the one we had for long term was a terrific highway cruiser.
Well, interesting enough, we just finished up another one of these, a 3-row one, which I guess we'll be talking about later. But between the heavier weight of the V6 and the third row, and I guess it had smaller wheels. I don't know, but it rode totally different than the one we had in the 2-row. So,
well, that is the hot market. That and the compact crossover markets, they're just going like gangbusters, while the rest of the car market is sort of in neutral or reverse. I mean, for Ford to actually suspend production of the F-150, you know that something's going on.
And the Mustang, too.
The Mustang, too. Big drop there for mid-size family sedans, dropping off the cliff. They keep talking about this as a plateau in the car market, but you got to remember the car market usually leads the economy. So I don't know.
Quick question
Yeah.
before we jump off. For that kind of money in a Murano, do you get all the Nissan safety features like the 360 cam and all their braking mitigation and stuff?
I don't think you got braking. I don't think you had the ultimate as far as the safety, but you did get the round view camera,
Gotcha.
stuff like that.
And-
good.
I noticed just in past that Hyundai and Kia give a lot of tech for a little bit of money. Were they kind of like tech and feature laden more than any of the others?
The Santa Fe Sport that was the highest trim level you could get with just about every option to be under that price. The Sorrento, no, that one was by far the cheapest one there, and it didn't have all the tech packages and all. It had a basic backup camera and the basic UVO, but not the upgraded system.
Cool. And probably Edge was the sportiest choice.
By far, yeah. It was pretty close between that and the Murano. Like I said, it's got a lot of room, and Sync 3 is way better than it has been. A comfortable car, but the interior is also it's kind of cold compared to the Murano. Just all that. It's not hard surfaces, but it's just everything's kind of flat and industrial looking. Whereas
I do like Murano's kind of alternate use of alternate materials, like stuff that we haven't really seen before.
I think it's
beautiful.
actually easily the most attractive to me of that group. Let me ask you all a question, since it sort of came up in this test, and Ben just mentioned it. If you were out buying a family vehicle like that for your family, would you stretch to get all of the advanced safety features like automatic braking and blind spot protection and all that?
Only because I have a family, I think I would. Right. I think if I didn't have kids, I don't think it would be in my mind as much.
Greg?
You
don't have a family yet?
No, I don't. But I've seen the systems in use, and they've actually helped me a lot. Not so much braking, like the collision mitigation, but I definitely know I love rear cross traffic alert and blind spot. So if I had to go to another package to get those, I think I would definitely do that because they really do work well.
Patrick, you're the single guy. What would you think?
I'm not single.
What's up?
I'm engaged. I'm getting married.
Congratulations. Technically still single, but I guess not.
Sure. Whatever you want to
I
call
don't see a ring on it.
I agree with Greg. I would go for all the stuff just because, like he said, I've used it. I would even go as far as to say the automatic braking, emergency braking works well. I've had it kick in a couple times. I've tested it a couple times, but I also had it actually save me a couple times. So I'd go for it.
Brian?
I go back and forth. I'm kind of coming around on all the intrusive safety features, but that brings up
That's
an interesting.
Mark this day.
Interesting with these comparisons with that price cap. Manufacturers have a choice whether they want to send them, fully loaded with the safety stuff, which is impressive, or put all-wheel drive in there, which to me is much more useful. But it's not
our
gonna,
area. Certainly.
Yeah, driving around in dry roads all week is not going to earn any extra points.
True.
So. I think if I had to choose between all-wheel drive or all the advanced safety, I would pick all-wheel drive. But
And a lot of buyers, unlike us, were familiar with these features.
Yeah,
and we
it's
love
new to them, and they don't think, why do I need it?
So they might not be, they don't know what they're missing.
Let's move on now to a little beast that I think we all had been waiting to have spend some time in for a long time.
We have been waiting.
I don't know of any sporty car that had been, dangled in front of us longer than the Ford Focus RS. Finally on sale, finally in the testing. Just a great little hot rod, but was it really worth all the hype and the wait? Let me open it up. We all had a lot of time in it. What do you think?
Was it worth
Whoa!
the wait?
Didn't jump right in.
Well, that was a weird question to lead off.
Yeah.
Was it worth the wait? I don't think it was worth the wait. I was a little, and the car is awesome, don't get me wrong. I was hoping it would be a little more daily friendly than it is, and in my short opinion, I feel that it's a car that if you're going to buy it, you have to have intentions on tracking it. Otherwise, the day-to-day characteristics of the car that to some may be enjoyable just become kind of like it's worth putting up for them if you're ultimately going to track it here and there. Then it's worth the daily characteristics that I consider maybe to be nuisances.
It's definitely hard to live with on a daily basis, and I think the reason it didn't live up to the hype, not even that it didn't live up to the hype, it probably did, but I think because it was dangled in front of us for so long that at least I built this like great car up in my head, and then when I finally drove it, I don't think anything I would have driven would have been as good as I thought it was going to be.
As your imagination.
But having said that, I drove it on the track for most of the time, and I had a blast because it's one of those cars where there is enough power to make it fast and fun, but it's not so much that you're worried about killing yourself in it because you can pretty much wring this out for everything it has, and you're going to be okay as long as you have some sort of track inclination.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just looking for something I could wring out that far or close to that far on the street, and that it definitely isn't that car.
Yeah, you're right, and it's super rough. The seats are so bolstered that if you're driving normally, or like it's almost like you have to jump up over them to get in, and you're not moving anywhere.
Patrick,
any?
I thought it was.
You jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to agree with everyone else, but I thought it was awesome, but maybe not worth the
$40,000.
Well, not just the price, but the price is hard to justify, but the weight too sort of didn't quite live up to it. But I thought I only daily drove it, and I did not take it out on the track, so I thought it was easier to drive than I thought it was going to be, but still, pretty rough, pretty aggressive, pretty stiff.
You probably drove it on rougher pavement than the rest of us.
Taking it downtown and hitting potholes. That thing, it is pretty jarring. And we spent a decent amount of time in the Focus ST back when that was brand new. And I thought that was awesome. So it's hard for me to say definitely get the RS over an ST because I thought the ST was awesome.
I didn't think the ride was that bad.
I have to agree with you. I didn't either. I mean, but maybe you and I are used to when Detroit used to crank out stuff that was so rough that your teeth would jar in your mouth.
Did you spend a lot of time behind the wheel though?
Just street. I didn't drive it on track, but I mean, for the performance that it has, I thought the ride was totally acceptable. I mean, if it didn't scream around the track like it does, then I wouldn't want that ride. But I didn't think it was that bad at all for what it is.
I can see where if you drove it back and forth to work every day, it might get a little tiring. But I thought the car was a blast. I guess where I came up against it was a lot of money for it. For when you think about the other options out there in the domestic area that would give you a little bit more comfort and close to the performance. But
I found myself comparing it to GTI. For a much cheaper GTI.
And I thought that was you were the first one to bring that up, and I actually thought that was extremely valid. For the price, there are other options that are also European.
For my intentions. If you're going to be honest with yourself, I don't want to be a poser that's going to buy a Focus RS and never take it on the track, which, you know that there's guys out there that are going to do that. And then you have the Golf R, and does the Golf R do it better? Or do it more civilized? I think it can. From what I remember, I think
because you can get the electronically controlled suspension,
right?
So you can get it. It's not the base car, but you can get it to be more compliant on the road when you're not tracking it or driving hard. But another note, I think we didn't talk about it, but we'll talk about it in the road test. Is just the drift mode that everybody talked about. I tried it on the track, knowing that it probably wouldn't drift for me, and it obviously doesn't. You still have to know how to drift. It just sends the proper power to the right. It just sends the proper power, and we've seen plenty of videos of people who may not have known that and end up in a bit of a problem situation.
Hitting the mountainside. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So if you get a Focus RS, just know that it will not drift for you.
Well, for a front-wheel drive car, you can have drift type.
Oh, yeah.
Let me flip it around then, because I think we came off so negative. Did you like the car performance-wise? Did you think that, wow, this is something special? Since I was so negative to start, let me flip it.
The power was awesome, not to add more negativity, but I thought the clutch, and it could be just a beat-up tester, but the clutch seemed to grab at an awkward, close to the firewall kind of
It was
position.
A hair trigger, too, huh?
Hair trigger clutch, and the shifter seemed a little vague at times to me, too. But I did feel awesome driving it when I felt like driving it awesomely.
That's a good one. All right. Let's move on now for our lightning round. We've got 2 minutes to debate a trending automotive topic. This one just keeps coming up, so here we go. The latest round of Chevrolet Silverado commercials has them bashing the F-150 for using aluminum. They talk about dropping a lot of stuff in the bed.
I saw that commercial with the toolbox.
That's the latest one. They did the one with the big stones, and now it's a toolbox piercing the F-150 bed. Inevitably, Silverado the next Silverado is going to have a lot of aluminum in it. We don't know if it's going to be. We don't think it's going to be total aluminum, but fuel economy standards are going to force this. The question is Chevy's marketing very short-sighted? Are they just trying to squeeze every last bit of life out of the current Silverado, which is still selling okay? Mm-hmm. What do you think about this kind of advertising, and is it even realistic?
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, as Forrest Gump said, I think maybe both are happening at the same time. I think that they are trying to suck every little last bit out of that current Silverado, but I think that they don't understand maybe that we live in the internet age now where all these commercials are going to hang around for a while, and as soon as they make a aluminum truck, people are going to go find those commercials on YouTube and be like, hey, guys, remember when you bashed aluminum years ago? Like, you could have maybe gotten away with this 20, 15 years ago, something like that, when nobody recorded commercials and held them.
Right.
Every single thing is going to be on the internet now and so easily accessible to anybody who wants to bring that up.
And they're going to say, what changed?
Well, I mean, all they would have to do is make a composite bed
that's true. They have plenty of composite beds out there.
Yeah, well, Honda
but that's not the only commercial either.
That's right.
Honda turned around, did the same stuff in their bed, and it fares way better than the Silverado.
And probably better than any metal bed. The composite.
I think that commercials are a little insulting to truck buyers too, because if you're around environments like that where that could happen, wouldn't you put a liner in, or at least a spray liner?
Who's going to
90% of trucks on the road have some type of bed liner?
Right,
I'm sure you can get it straight from the dealership.
It's ridiculous.
I think the commercials are insulting to people in general because those people may have never seen a car before. They claim to not know that it looks like a Chevy or anything like that. Like, wow, that is incredible.
Yeah, any of that whole Chevy focus group type marketing thing is, it gets on my nerves. We'll just leave it that way.
That might be the rant after this. It might carry over.
That was it.
Especially since there's just the truck market is so sectioned. I mean, the number of people out there that go in not knowing what brand of truck they're going to buy, it's got to be very, very small.
It's like the only segment left that still has brand loyalty for the most part.
So, I mean, what are they doing? Spending all of this money for 5% of the buyers, and even if they got every one of them, it wouldn't push them over the top. I guess it's just all about money since they make so much money selling all these pickup trucks.
If they wanted a commercial that would really hit home, just have somebody trying to put a magnetic sign on a Ford.
That's a good one.
That's the only
can't
thing.
do it.
Yeah, their business.
That's the biggest disadvantage for me.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. You saved us by the bell. Let's talk about a viewer question from Leo. He says, can old fuel be related to a check engine light? We're talking about the orange lights, not the red one. He says his 02 Accord's been sitting for 2 months. He occasionally starts the car with 3/4 of a tank of regular fuel. Car needed inspection, but on the way, the check engine light came on. The mechanic says nothing turned up. I'm not so sure you have a very good mechanic. Anyway, he changed the gas cap for $10. It cleared up the light for about 6 miles. It's back on again. Before I go back to the mechanic, does it sound logical that it may be old gasoline sitting in the tank, and can putting in higher octane gas solve the problem? Well,
it doesn't sound logical.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. We've certainly had plenty of problems with summer gas, if not winter gas. 2 months in a tank should not have spoiled the gas to that point. It could be lots of things. It could be something still wrong with the car, and your mechanic probably needs to do a little better job of evaluating it and putting it on a tester looking for codes, because it does trigger a code.
Yeah, it's almost always comes down to a sensor every time there's a check engine light on. A sensor of some sort, either the sensor's failing or something in the system is not operating properly. But
now, I'll tell you, I've got a pickup truck, a Ford Ranger, and I've got started off with the gas cap light coming on. My truck's old enough they had those, and then I replaced the gas cap, but I knew that wasn't the issue. Now the check engine light is on. Now, when this happened to me before, it turned out to be that a rodent had gotten in and chewed through a wire.
Oh.
So, they had to drop the tank to find it. But so this problem, Leo, could be lots of things. It could be gas. It could be sensor. I agree with Brian. It likely is that. It could be a broken wire somewhere. It could be a leak that is in the fuel system that's letting the vapors out, and that's more. That could be caused by rust. As well as a lot of other issues.
Could have been hacked by Russians. Who knows?
It could have been hacked by Russians.
More times than not, it could be O2 sensor. Seems those go out all left and right.
Leo, you need to ask your technician to do a thorough code search, and then not let him just start replacing parts, but really get into it and see if you can figure out what the problem is before you have to. I guess you've already taken in for inspection. I guess you'll have to get it solved one way or the other. Anyway, it may not be an easy. It may not be an easy.
Go 6
fix.
miles at a time.
Okay, Rant and Rave. Anything on anyone's mind this week that has to do with the automotive world?
I'm blank.
Blank?
Yeah, actually, I am too.
Last night on the interstate, I'm really getting annoyed at the people that are out there driving like it's a video game. I mean, it's like most drivers drive fairly sanely. I'm not saying that they don't speed, but then you get the oddball that's out there that really is using the cars in the lanes as bumpers on some kind of a pinball machine. I look at them, and there's nothing you can do about it because they do this, and then the next exit they get off. It's like they're not really going anywhere. I wish if anyone like that is listening to this, just realize what a hazard you are on the road. That's all I've got.
To take it a step further, in the last 6 months, after driving the roads that we normally record on for drive-bys, last 6 months I've noticed that every single one of them has just epic burnout marks on
I've
them.
noticed that too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on.
Why don't you look in the parking lot of where we were?
Well, it's like I'm old, so I look down and say, well, that's about $200 worth of rubber sitting there on a pavement.
Somebody's having a good time. But what I fear is it's going to be at MotorWeek's expense, because if we get caught out there doing just general filming, people neighbors are going to see us and assume that it's us.
Yeah, probably so.
Because we have access to that kind of car to do that.
It's not us. We're responsible.
Every road. Huge, epic, swirly burnouts.
All right, guys. This brings to a close our MotorWeek podcast number 149. I want to thank everybody around the table: Brian Robinson, Ben Davis, Greg Carlos, Patrick Lucas, Jim Bigwood, our audio engineer, also our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and, of course, Patrick for producing today's podcast. If you're out there and you want more MotorWeek besides public television, we're also seen on Velocity. Please like us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Lots of stuff on YouTube. Instagram as well.
MySpace.
If you've got any kind of electronic device that receives information, you can find MotorWeek. And we hear from all of you so much. Thank you very, very much for listening and watching to MotorWeek. And we'll be back soon for more MotorWeek podcast. And that's it. For MotorWeek Central, I'm John Davis. We'll see you soon.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by RockAuto.com. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series, each week on your local PBS station.